The Washington Post, as you may know, has been hemorrhaging subscribers and web traffic for years. Late last year, the paper conducted yet another round of layoffs impacting hundreds of employees. Jeff Bezos purchased the paper for $250 million a decade ago, and last year alone, it managed to lose roughly $100 million. So this is not a profitable venture, and in normal circumstances, businesses that lose this much money don't stay around very long. But the Washington Post has stuck around. Jeff Bezos has kept it on life support to fulfill a specific mission, which is to harangue and censor independent voices on behalf of Jeff Bezos' donors in the Democratic Party. A couple of days ago, that mission was on full display. On March 21st, the Washington Post published an article entitled, "Women Are Getting Off Birth Control Amid Misinformation Explosion." The Daily Beast ran a similar story warning ominously of an explosion of women who are ditching birth control amid a misinformation blitz. Now, first of all, it needs to be said, of course, that, as we know, anytime the media collectively decides to label something misinformation, they really mean information that we find personally or politically inconvenient. They're not interested in proving you wrong. They're interested in shutting you up, and that's exactly what's happening here. Quoting from the Washington Post piece, Brett Cooper, a media commentator for the conservative Daily Wire, argued in a viral TikTok clip that birth control can impact fertility, cause women to gain weight, and even alter whom they are attracted to. It racked up over 219,000 likes before TikTok removed it following the Post's inquiry. Now, the piece goes on to describe other similar videos that the Post also wants to be deleted from the internet. For example, there's this one from Ben Shapiro's show a year ago. Watch.
Yeah, I mean, the actual story here, I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I'm not in some sort of conservative bubble. And I wanted to go off the pill myself after thinking more critically about it during the pandemic and thinking about what taking these exogenous hormones might mean. And as soon as I started telling my friends, I realized virtually all my young female friends, including my progressive ones, were having the same thoughts because, of course, taking an exogenous pill of hormones every single day would affect the way that you see the world around you, the way that your brain works. And the more that I went down this rabbit hole, I realized that there's this wealth of information and researchers who have been looking into the effects of the hormonal birth control pill on women's psychology. And it's been completely just untouchable. And like, as you mentioned, the third rail, because of course, there was the Dobbs decision recently, and there's a sense that if you criticize birth control at all, period, you're criticizing it as an idea, which of course I'm not. But I think that there is attention that needs to be paid to giving women as much information as possible to make the best choices for themselves.
Now, it's hard to imagine a more anodyne clip than that. This is not a woman making up crazy, unhinged conspiracy theories about birth control, whatever those would be. She's not expressing some dangerous, unscientific opinion, if an opinion can even be dangerous. She doesn't even appear to be political. She's just articulating a very reasonable, increasingly common concern, which is that taking unnatural hormones might have some unexpected and unwanted effects on the human body. Even if you don't know anything about the scientific data on this point, that's not a crazy thing to believe. I mean, it just seems intuitively true that there are going to, at a very minimum, be side effects when you do something like that. But as the clip goes on, they do talk about some of the research on this point, and none of this is quack science. It's widely accepted in medical literature. For example, a recent study out of Denmark, published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, found that, quote, hormonal contraception use doubles the risk of suicide attempts and triples the risk of suicide. The study specifically found that, quote, the association between hormonal contraception and primary outcomes peaked at 2 months, but continued even after the cessation of hormonal contraception for some years. The researchers also reported that hormonal contraceptives were connected with a 70% increase in rates of depression. Now, before I get into the specifics of what other studies have found, it's important to pause here and take another look at how the Washington Post is framing this story. So here's the first paragraph, quote, search for birth control on TikTok or Instagram and a cascade of misleading videos vilifying hormonal contraception appear. Young women blaming their weight gain on the pill, right-wing commentators claiming that some birth control can lead to infertility, testimonials complaining of depression and anxiety. Physicians say they're seeing an explosion of birth control misinformation online, targeting a vulnerable demographic. Now, the implication of what the Post wrote is that it's misinformation to say that birth control is related to depression and anxiety, but that's not true. At no point in the Washington Post article did they debunk the study from Denmark. They don't even mention it. Instead, they simply state, as a matter of fact, that you're crazy if you link birth control to weight gain, infertility, depression. They claim the only significant side effects of birth control medication are blood clots, but they're just wrong on all accounts. And one of the main reasons they're wrong is that hormonal birth control inhibits the body's natural reaction to stress. As a UCLA health study put it late last year, quote, researchers at the UCLA Department of Psychiatry and Biobehavioral Sciences Laboratory for Stress Assessment and Research found contraceptive users and non-users process stress differently at the molecular level, with contraceptive users also reporting a more negative psychological response to stress compared to non-users. Now, is it possible that disrupting the body's natural stress response might lead to weight gain, given that weight gain is one of the most common symptoms of stress? The Washington Post thinks you're a science denier if you even suggest that. They'll have you pulled off TikTok if you even mention the possibility. President Joe Biden called on the power of women to help restore Roe v. Wade and abortion on demand during his annual State of the Union address. Now more than ever, we need to remember the 65 million unborn babies whose lives have been sacrificed in the name of abortion. This should only motivate us to save more unborn babies' lives. Preborn's network of clinics have rescued 200 unborn babies. By showing a mother her child on ultrasound, a baby's chance at life could double.
So when I came to my first visit and I had my sonogram and seeing the heartbeat, it really hit home that, oh my gosh, there's a miracle literally growing inside of my womb.
Preborn not only offers mothers free ultrasounds, but these mothers are given assistance for up to 2 years. One ultrasound costs just $28. Any amount will help, and all gifts are tax deductible. Help us fight back by saving the lives of these innocent babies. To donate securely, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or go to preborn.com/Matt. That's preborn.com/Matt. And that's kind of weird because less than a year ago, NBC News ran this report in which their medical experts explain that weight gain and hair loss are among the symptoms of hormonal birth control. Watch.
In a post-Roe world, contraceptives like birth control are taking center stage.
I'm officially off my hormonal birth control.
But online, a chorus of voices are taking to platforms like TikTok to talk about why the pill might not be for them, even if they don't want to get pregnant.
A few quick updates for you.
25-year-old Erica Hong says she first got on the pill at 16 as a way to not only prevent pregnancy, but also manage what's called polycystic ovarian syndrome, presenting in symptoms like acne and irregular menstruation.
And it really, truly helped me with a lot of my symptoms, but then I experienced new side effects.
Side effects like mood swings, weight gain, and even hair loss.
In a nutshell, that repeated over and over again for about 5 different pills over a span of almost 10 years.
Her experience with birth control is unfortunately not uncommon, according to doctors. What are some of the common side effects that you see with people who take birth control?
So when we look at side effects from starting a particular type of contraception, that can be anywhere from nausea, headaches, or even some weight gain. There are some people that note some hair changes, whether that's hair loss or sparseness in hair.
I think I'm getting hair loss.
For Ali Vaccaro, hormonal changes like hair loss came after she got off the pill.
Scared me at first. I did not even know that was a side effect.
Wow, what an explosion of misinformation you just saw there. And I guess we're expected to believe that at some point between May and this week, the science changed. But of course it didn't. Going back to the UCLA study, researchers confirmed existing research which found that, quote, hormonal contraceptive pills may increase women's risk for chronically elevated inflammation, which carries the long-term risk of developing illnesses such as cancer, cardiovascular disease, and autoimmune disorders, as well as potential mood disorders, including depression. The lead author at UCLA added that, quote, cortisol gets a bad rap, but increases in cortisol in response to stress help the body manage stressful situations. If women on the pill are having these increases in cortisol, but their mood is getting worse, it could mean that the pill is preventing their bodies and minds from returning to normal following stress. Now, the truth is that hormonal birth control does come with all kinds of risks and side effects. All drugs do. And drugs that suppress the normal, healthy functions of the body are always going to be especially risky. Drugs that you're taking that are meant to cure something that is not a disease, such as like the natural fertility, a woman's natural fertility, that's not a disease, it's not an illness. And so when you're taking something that is suppressing a part of your body that is not defective, it's going to have an impact on your body. And that includes potential impacts on fertility, as much as the Washington Post doesn't want to admit it. Like right now, if you go to the Planned Parenthood website, you'll find that they recommend a method of hormonal birth control known as the Depot shot. Quote, the Depot shot is an injection you get once every 3 months. It's a safe, convenient, and private birth control method that works really well if you always get it on time. Now, what Planned Parenthood doesn't mention on their website is that the depot shot has clear and proven impacts on fertility. This is from the WebMD website, rather, which on most days the Washington Post agrees is a reliable source. But here's what they say, quote, injectable birth control, unlike other forms of hormonal birth control, it may be harder to get pregnant after you stop getting these shots. It may take 10 months or more before you ovulate again. For some women, it will take up to 18 months for periods to start again. So this is a method of hormonal birth control that does impact fertility after you stop taking it. In fact, it can make women infertile for a very long time. This isn't some conspiracy theory, and neither is the idea that hormonal birth control can contribute to weight gain, depression, suicide. The same sources that the left tells us to trust at every opportunity, established medical researchers, are very clear on this. But the trust the science crowd has suddenly become very distrusting of science when it comes to this. And that's not the only platitude that they're abandoning in order to censor anyone who speaks critically about birth control. You may recall My Body, My Choice. If these people really believed in the My Body, My Choice mantra, they would celebrate or at least accept that an increasing number of young women are choosing to forego birth control. But they can't celebrate it, and they can't even accept it, and they can't even allow women to talk about it in public on these platforms because birth control is central to their cultural agenda. With fewer women on the pill, more women will become mothers. Some of them will drop out of the workforce and discover fulfillment and happiness as wives, as homemakers. And this is the real crisis that the Washington Post and the other left-wing rags are worried about. The last thing that the elites want to see is a movement of women fully embracing their own womanhood and men fully embracing their manhood. A move back towards the family, away from materialism, away from self-preoccupation, towards marriage, towards parenthood. That's what they don't want to see. These people have been waging a war on the family for decades, and the birth control pill was their nuclear bomb. The family is the greatest threat to them. And a society full of families, of intact, happy families with attentive mothers and strong fathers, that is a society that has rendered these people basically powerless. That is their fear. And they fear it like they fear nothing else. And then politically, of course, we know that unhappy career middle managers at Citibank are one of the core constituencies of the Democratic Party. And if those people rebel, well, Democrats will have real trouble winning another election. And they're willing to do anything, including lying to women about the serious and even fatal drug side effects of birth control and so many other drugs, to prevent that from happening. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.